Guys, so I'm going to continue with the BTS analysis. We've had a lot going on recently, so we're a little behind on that. But let me get to it. So next up is J-Hope. I'm sure a lot of you know that he is like the happiness of the group, but a lot of times he has broken on his V-Lives, and he will open up to fans and say that he's actually not happy. But and it has come into recent lights that his family had said that Hobie is not the same person he used to be, and when he comes home, he's sad Hobie versus the fake behavior that he has in front of his fans. And I'm sure, as you can see, these will be here for you to pause and read. I will have to put them on the video description because sometimes I don't think y'all can read a lot of this. The thing is he does have happy moments, but it's not like it's the overly energetic happy that you see all the time. It's actually very, very fake. And the schedules that he's had, especially the fact that Hybe does push the group a lot. He does not have the sense in himself to be happy because he is very worn out. Now, a lot of people, and I've seen this before on Quora, Twitter, even on YouTube, that people want to say that J-Hope is arrogant, but the fact is I think any person can pick out when a person is arrogant, especially with this, we'll call him here. They'd be more offensive and outright about it versus being confident in their abilities and not bragging about it. But yeah, I don't think a lot of fans do know the difference between arrogance and confidence as much, because they do like to say a lot of the other members are arrogant. I have seen a lot of K-pop groups who are actually arrogant. Now, this one is a bigger trait of J-Hope's that I have noticed in recent years. He is more of a follower and not a leader. Granted, yes, he is the dance leader of the group, but he is not a person who's able to lead the charge when it comes to the group. Because when a lot of times there's bullying involved, there'll be another member in the group that leads it, and he easily follows it. So he's more of a follower than anything, because it's more of a defense mechanism to fit in, especially when he himself had said he didn't fit in when he was in school before. Now, like I said, he is not a very manipulative person, but he does have a couple of those traits, especially when it comes to the ganging up or bullying against certain other members, especially when it comes to the love bombing, lying, or even just gaslighting. And he does tend to change the rules sometimes, especially when it comes to the fact that he's either losing or his group is losing, but a lot of times it's not him leading it, but he does follow along with it. Now, and like I said, you may think the manipulation isn't much, but it is forms of psychological abuse. So even if he is not leading the charge, he is part of the problem if one of the group members is very broken down because the fact that the group does bully each other a lot. And you can say, well, they're family, they wouldn't bully each other. Well, family does bully each other a lot. If you actually look at a lot of crime shows, the percentage and where it's random people or people you don't know of that's the killer of somebody is relatively low, because it's typically a family member that tends to commit the crimes. Now, like I said, he does not have manipulative behavior, but the thing is he does follow along very easily, and I think it's because he does want to fit in, and he doesn't really feel guilty about picking on other members. I'm sure you'll probably see later on in some of the Run BTS episodes, he does not really feel bad about it, but I think honestly he thinks it's an all joking fun. But if you have ever been on the end of where you've been bullied or manipulated, you actually wouldn't like that kind of treatment. See, now he is easily manipulated, especially when it comes to the ones who do like to lead the bullying campaigns in the group. He is not a person who likes to fight it. He wants to be the peacemaker, but at the same time, it's like he almost feels like he has to choose a side. Because the thing is it does make things very dysfunctional, and it gives the other members a lack of trust. And a lot of times he will say the phrases of just kidding or joking, even if he means it as a joke or he's kidding, the other members who may be bullying may not see it that way. And it is very common that the manipulative behavior is with colleagues and friends and family. It is very common, so if you want to use those as excuses, then you're way out of line. Now, he is an extrovert, but he does have introverted ways. He's very outgoing, but recently he has become to where he's only outgoing in certain contexts or in certain situations. He's gotten a lot more reserved and introverted because recently he has not had to behave like an extrovert since he's had time away from the limelight. And the fact he's in the military, it definitely, I'm sure, has made him feel a lot better without having to be extroverted to please an audience. Now, I'm sure a lot of you know what it is to be depressed, but it is more common in men to be depressed. And they usually don't show it, otherwise they're not manly enough. And a lot of times they do not have a support system that helps them through that. And a lot of times they just get better at hiding it, because in one V Live he had said that he was not well and broke down in tears, but then the next one afterwards he had the fakest smile on saying that he was fine, which tells me he just got better at hiding it. But if you do know signs of depression, I'm sure you would be easily able to pick that out of J-Hope in a lot of instances. Now, he does have a pack mentality. Like I said, he's not a leader, but he is easy to follow along, especially when the masses go for maybe bullying a specific member. Like, for example, there is an episode later on that we haven't gotten to yet, but it is a cooking episode, and when they were about to talk about what their task was for that day, the entire group decided to pick on Jimin, and he immediately went along with it and thought it was priceless. But the thing is it's because almost the entire group wanted to do it, so he easily followed along. That is a pack mentality. Whether he is not the leader of the project, he is still a contributing factor. See, and this is the V that I was talking about. He may look like he's fine, but he's actually not. But this was the face he basically had in the next V Live, saying that he was fine. But he didn't break down that time. He just got better at hiding it. And I'm sure a lot of you, when it comes to being out in public, you do hide your depression a good bit. Maybe if you feel that it is disgraceful or weakening, you don't show it amongst your family. So I'm sure you know the signs of when somebody is hiding their depression. So they're always busy to isolate themselves because he was by himself practicing. Their personality changes. His personality has drastically changed from when he was happy Hobie to this Hobie, according to his family. They have an overly optimistic attitude. It is very fake. Now, yeah, he tries to be a positive influence, but faking positivity for other people's benefit is not healthy, and I hope he does realize that one day. And they're taken over by irrational fear and anxiety. I'm not really sure about that, but he does have a lot of anxiety. Now, Hobie's birthday is February 18th. He's the eternally young, which means he does have a youthful attitude about things. On the dark side, he is reckless, immature, and impatient. Yes, I have seen this, especially when he's the dance leader. He's very impatient about when people are struggling to learn a dance, and he does get a little reckless sometimes, but other than that, he does not show those traits as much. But he is dynamic and charismatic at times, but I think a lot of these times where he does act charismatic, it's not actually true. Like, it's more of an act for everybody else to feel the positivity, not himself. So it says, Aquarians born on this day are dedicated to the art of perfection. He is a perfectionist when it comes to being a dance teacher. He will side-eye somebody if he sees a slight mistake. I'm sure you saw when he was a dancing mentor for an upcoming K-pop group, he was analyzing them to the fullest degree, making sure that their dance moves were precise. Now, I know a lot of you are not into the zodiacs, but hear me out here. I'm sure you've seen the other zodiacs that I've done. So they can be intellectual, independent, tolerant, friendly, sociable, creative, humorous, but they can be unpredictable, emotionally detached, aloof, contradictory, distant, restless, and that is the negative traits he does inhabit a lot, because since his depression has increased and he's not had we shouldn't say a net to help him deal with those issues, he's just gotten better at hiding it, but I can tell that his positive attitude has gotten to be a little more aloof, and he does hide a lot of his sadness. Now, these are the planetary zodiacs, making up for his birth chart. So, for the sun, his Aquarius, you aren't afraid to break the rules, you are innovative, and are always searching for ways to improve yourself. As that is true, he is always looking for ways to improve. He is not a cocky person, but he is confident in his dance moves, but he is willing to learn different ways of dancing if it does improve the way he does things, because he knows that he is not the best dancer in the world and he can learn new ways. Moon is in Taurus, gives you the intuitive capacity to unconsciously manifest the resources and experiences you need to feel comfortable. Comfort is a key issue, and with the moon here, you are likely to find that you need comfort and security in order to feel emotionally centered. Now, I have noticed when it comes to BTS having to break up for their hiatus, you tell that Hobie was not doing so well emotionally. I think that they were his emotional crutch. And the fact that they made him emotionally centered and secure when they did have hiatus, he did go to a very dark place. And if you did watch the Weavers live with Jimin when he performed his Jack in the Box, he did say that he was in a terrible place. So Mercury in Pisces, they're so full, intuitive, and compassionate. Yes, he's very compassionate and he's very intuitive. It's just, I don't think a lot of times he does put that into perspective for himself, but more so for others. So Venus is in Pisces. Having a Venus in Pisces gives you a heightened ability to intuitively pick up on your significant others, every want and need, but that could also be people you care for. He is very emotionally intelligent when it comes to the rest of the group members, and does try to complete their every want and whim. So Mars in Aquarius grants someone a quirky and eccentric air in regards to how they exhibit their energy. Yes, he is very energetic, but I like to say they do put on fake airs for the crowd, so they don't worry or they don't seem like they're boring in a kind of way. So Jupiter in Scorpio, your gift of attraction extends beyond your professional life. Yes, he does have a charm about him, but it's not from his professional life, because he was a street dancer, so people, I'm sure, recognized his skill and his talent way before he became part of BTS. Unfortunately, though, the fact that he is BTS now is the only reason why people want to see those traits of his. So Saturn is in Pisces. Your spirituality is grounded and your fantasies flow seamlessly with reality. Now, no, not necessarily. He can take the joys and pains from others and can mix it with his own, which is why he is a very depressed person. He does feel more of everyone else's pain than his own, and he ignores his own pain. Uranus in Capricorn, often ambitious and has strong leadership qualities. He does have strong leadership qualities, but he does not exhibit the assertiveness to be a leader, because he doesn't want to be somebody controlling, but at the same time he does not want to get in the way of a leader abusing their power as well. So he does like to stand to the side, but that is not a good factor to have. He is compassionate and idealistic according to Neptune and Capricorn. Yeah, he is very idealistic and compassionate. They have a sincere interest in philosophies, religion. He could, I'm not sure, but I do remember that he said that he would read a verse of the Bible every night before he would go to bed as a way to keep him calm and at peace, and that could be part of it. Pluto and Scorpio natives, sensitive to their environment and are emotionally intense. Yes, they are. He is very emotionally inclined, and he can have emotion drive his decisions a lot, which is not always the best thing, but it can help in certain situations. So his Celtic Druid tree zodiac is Ash, which is the enchanter. They are empathetic and passionate, creative, but the negative traits is stubborn and moody. Yes, he is very stubborn about his ways, and he can be a very moody person, as we've seen, especially when he has drank a little bit of alcohol. He does sit and brood a good bit. So his Chinese zodiac is the Yang Wood dog. And yes, I had to go on a calculator and figure this out. So they typically are loyal and honest. They're keepers of secrets. Now, he's not very good at keeping secrets. It's like he gets too overjoyed about whatever the secret is. So he has to let it out when he shouldn't be doing that. They're dependable, they're faithful, giving, and yes, he can be a very giving person. A lot of times he does overdo it for others and not for himself. They are constantly worrying, they have lack of stability, easy to find fault, skeptical, negative, and unsatisfied. I'm sure in the other slides you have noticed that he is a person who does not have stability. And he is a perfectionist, so he can easily find fault in someone, including himself. So the Egyptian zodiac, he is the Nile. they're very passionate and impulsive. Yeah, he can be impulsive, but I don't think he does that majority of the time for when he is a dancer. Otherwise, he would probably have a lot more rumors around about him than he already does. They're creative and deeply feeling, insightful, gentle and nurturing, but they can be wild, demanding, moody, detached, and envious. Yes, he does have a detached feeling at times. He does have his moody moments, and he is a warrior, as we've seen before. So his Hindu zodiac is Kumbh Rashi. It is the Hindu zodiac for Aquarius, basically. They're humanitarians, intelligent, progressive, idealistic, creative, imaginative, but they can be rebellious, unempathetic, stubborn, and moody. That's a common trait with him. So they tend to be more masculine in all cases. But I will say that he is a very idealistic person, and I would say intuitive, but he's not the most intelligent, I would say. But I think it's probably because of the immaturity he has in there, trying to cover up a lot of the real issues that do make up in his life, so might as well block that stuff out, especially when you're doing shows for your K-pop group and trying to have fun. So his Native American zodiac is the Otter Totem. They are humanitarians who seek to create a better world for all. They're fiercely independent otters. Love is loyal to the end and beyond. Yes, it can be, and that is not always the best thing, especially when someone in your life does abuse that friendship or is disloyal to you as well, and can be toxic for you. Medicine Wheel Otter's lesson is to stay grounded while reaching for the stars. Yeah, he is pretty grounded about a lot of things. I think that does help him with some of the stability issue, but the fact that he does have he does grasp BTS like a lifeline, because they are his companions for more than 10 years. So I feel like he is connected to them more than anything and feels most comforted with them. So these are the MBTIs. He used to be a ESFJ, especially when he did take the test before, but now he is an INFJ, which is a stark difference, especially with the extroverted sensory, with the introverted intuitive. So unhealthy ESFJs are mean, very emotional, jealous, egoistic, sassy, dramatic, power hungry, and they can be cruel. But healthy ESFJs are kind, orderly, well-kept, good leaders, community workers, and self-sacrificing. Now, he did have self-sacrificing, but he's not really one to want to be a leader, but he can be a good leader. Also, he was very emotional when he was an ESFJ. Unhealthy INFJs are manipulative, fussy, self-hating, explosive, critical, feels constantly victimized, and egoistic. And yes, I myself am an INFJ. I do have some of these unhealthy traits. I'm still trying to work with myself as well. I am very self-hating, explosive, I am self-critical, I do feel constantly victimized by everybody around me, especially when I haven't done anything at all. And I don't really have much of an ego at all. That's the insecurity about me. But healthy INFJs are kind, orderly, well-kept, self-aware, altruistic, humanitarian, and community workers. It seems to be the humanitarian is a constant in a lot of these, especially the moody aspects as well. So, again, I had to look up facial structures. They can be identifying of personalities because they are connected to the emotional lobe of your brain. Confidence, people with faces that are less than 60% as wide. Now, Hobie has a narrow face, which can indicate he is not a very confident person and looks before he leaps kind of approach, versus somebody like Suga who would go in guns blazing probably. So friendliness, measured with a smile, is believed by the distance between the top of the eye to the eyebrow. People with lower brows like Hobie are open and friendly. And those with higher set brows are not really unfriendly, but they can be, but are typically more about personal space. Now, Jungkook's eyebrows are a lot higher than Hobie's. His are closer to his eyelids, which means he is a more outgoing, friendly person. Unlike Jungkook, who is more standoffish and likes to gauge on people around him before getting comfortable. So tolerance, people with wider set eyes like J-Hope are more tolerant of other people's errors, whereas people with closer set eyes are less patient by comparison. Yes, that can be it, but the thing is I think, in all honesty, when you are a perfectionist because of, I guess, how you view yourself, you would be more along the lines of being impatient. Now, his eyes are not completely wide set. They might be in the middle, but he is a person who is not very patient when it comes to dancing mistakes. He will give you the side glare if you do have one mishap. So sense of humor, if you have a sarcastic, dry sense of humor, you might have a long philtrum, according to Stevens. But that's the thing is, according to Stevens, people with a shorter philtrum are more likely to be no-nonsense types. So as far as this Comedy King falls into the first category. Best thing is, it doesn't seem like the stuff that I researched for was very set in its ways. But Hobie has a long philtrum, which is the piece right here in between your nose and your lips. So he is more of a comical person versus RM, who does not joke a lot. He's more serious about things. And you may say, well, he's a jokester as well. His jokes are funny, and it seems he tries too hard because he knows he's not funny. Generosity, if eyes are the windows to the soul, lips are the windows to the heart. So people with full upper lips, like J-Hope, are more generous with their words, supposedly. But the thing is, it's not about the thickness of the top or the bottom lip, it's about the shape of the lips. He has heart-shaped lips, which means they're more sensitive and caring. It's because of these shapes suggest a vulnerability not usually associated with other lip shapes. They typically have striking personalities. They're often warm and friendly. Socializing brings them great joy. The hearty pout is seen as more attractive than other pout shapes. They're associated with passion because supposedly, wouldn't know, a person with such puckers is typically viewed as a more sensual and desirable. Well, I mean, I think everybody desires the entire group because they are famous and with money they don't really look into their personalities much. Worldview. Now, I don't really agree with this one a lot because a lot of people who are of a certain race that share the same eye color, you can't really say for sure about their eyelids. But the thing is, a lot of times the double lid is more of a dominant trait and the monolid is more of a recessive trait. But actually looking at Hobie's eyes, he does have double lids. There is a crease into them. So he tends to be more analytical, but he does fall somewhere in the middle because they're not super deep, but he does have double lids, regardless of which you want to say. So here is his face analysis further. So he does have almond eyes. People who have almond eyes are more prone to being cautious. As we know, people who had to have almond eyes tend to be more along the lines of not being very, really rushed into making decisions. They like to gauge the entire situation from a side point of view before making decisions. He has mid to wide set eyes. They're not completely wide apart. They're a bit of close set. Those who exhibit wider eye distance usually are more flexible and impulsive. But the thing is he is sort of in the middle, so he has a good grounding between the differences. So he does have dark brown eyes. You're more likely to be a natural born leader. But in actuality, it doesn't really completely describe you. That's why you have to look at these several shapes and sizes and creases to the eyes instead of just the color, because just the color alone is not going to identify a person's personality, especially when you have Asians, Hispanics, and black people who are more than likely to have brown eyes. It's sort of ignorant to say that they are all strong-born leaders when some people are just not confidently a leader, but it does have something to do with their eyes, just not just the color of their eyes. Now he does have straight eyes. I did do the diagram over here. Balanced, not overly confident and not too pessimistic, but he does have more pessimistic traits recently. He does have smaller eyes, which signifies someone who is more pragmatic and calculated. You are hyper-focused without being easily distracted. Yeah, he can be, especially when he is the dance leader. He is very focused on being perfect with his dance moves, and he'll be very precise about it. Now he does have prominent eyes. If you do look into the shapes of eyes, that it took me a while to figure that one out. So he has prominent eyes. A person with eyes that protrude from the socket will be friendly and sensitive, which is more so what causes the creasing in the double lids. So they typically have a worrisome and pessimistic nature, which portray the nature of an extrovert, which is exactly what he does on a daily basis. Now, J-Hope's nose analysis, like I said, a lot of people did simple things and not the entire face. So he has this like concave, bottom-down hooked nose. They are the kind of people who would bear a burden with a smile and yet be the first to help if asked. Yes, that is the simplest form of saying he is a person who's selfless and does not care a lot about his struggles or his pain, and he'll push it down in order to help any of the others that's in the group. And yes, I did do a eyebrow scan. I went to older photos before he was ever in BTS. I'm not going to do one when he's had his eyebrows shaved and drawn on, because that wouldn't be accurate. So he has upward ascending, as you can see here on his little photo. So he has the oblong face, as we all know. They're never ruled by emotions, but they are practical and tend to be very driven to achieve many goals. And oftentimes this face shape is found among successful people. He is very successful in the group. Actually, I think he's the highest paid person in the group because he's that successful. So he has upward ascending brows. They typically are passionate, vigorous, decisive, and bold in action. People who have long eyebrows tend to be the kind of people who have a lot of friends. Now, he didn't have a lot of friends in school, but he does now. And I think it's because of his growing, at least, self-awareness and confidence in himself. He has rounded and peaked and arched brows, and like I said, I will put this in the description so you can actually read this full thing, because it is a lot to read. It would blow my voice box out. I'm sure you've seen a lot of these clips before. I'm sure you've seen memes before. I'm sure you've seen people's opinions before about how J-Hope does not feel confident in himself, and it's because of how fans have talked about him. See, I'm not as happy as you think. He said that before. See, there will be times in your life when you question your own decisions. So he used to not have any fans. So, and he's still surprised to this day that he does have fans. So he has the biggest attitude in BTS. That's why I'll break into his $1 million apartment and pee on his couch. They're talking like he's arrogant, supposedly, but that's disgusting. It's J-Hope. I would say that they're making fun of him, and that's why his insecurity is off the charts, because of people who are fans who just want to break other people down. And of course, there is quotes before. Time rushes ever forward. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes. How come I get so sad whenever I see Jungkook cry? In response to this slightly serious moment, Jungkook jokingly asked J-Hope, "I thought I'm the one who makes you cry." When you cry at moments, my entire body will be dried up from crying so much. So he is a very selfless person. When the other members hurt, he will hurt more than that member. See, he doesn't really remember much, but he overworked and fainted. I went to the hospital and got an IV and felt better. I returned to the filming scene of the music video. He does overwork himself a good bit. I don't really think the fans tend to care that much. And we know this tragic story. See, and he doesn't think that he is anything special. He doesn't think people should waste their time on him. And he does see, the thing is people act like the members are not going to read their ugly comments, but that is the thing, is they do see the comments, and it does weigh down on their psyche very, very heavily. So that would be the end of that. Like I said, a lot of times people don't really think about how their words weigh on people, especially when they are famous. They think that nothing can hurt them, but the thing is the way that people treat them, talk about them constantly, day by day, on social media, on articles, even in front of their faces as paparazzi, it does weigh down on a person, and he is not the most confident person in the group. And the fact that people like to say that he is the most arrogant one in the group is honestly disgusting. And a lot of fans don't really care about how the members feel, especially when they're being overworked. Well, you need to come to my country, you need to do this, you need to do that, you have to do this, you should do this. They're basically overworked, and to the point where they do pass out, and they are malnourished, and they are overworked to the point where they do not hardly sleep at all. And I wish people would be more self-aware before they started making demands for these people. But that is the end of J-Hope's analysis, and I will get to another group member's analysis pretty soon. We're going to get back to posting more. It's just we've just had a lot going on recently, especially with health. I won't go into many details about that, but until our next video, guys, peace.